Okay, what we want to do now is we actually want to change the font size, how big our font actually is. So in order to do this, we're going to change this for H1. Now, I know what you're tempted to do. You're over here to write H1 and then do this. That's a no-no. We already have an H1 set up. If we write another one, we run the chance of overwriting our code and we can cause some issues. So we already have it set up, and all we need to remember is that our code needs to go in between the opening and closing curly bracket. So here, if I hit enter, the property to change how big or small the font is font dash size. All right. And you can make it how big or small you want. Now, there's a lot of units of measure. There's EM, there's REM, but those are sort of difficult for you all to remember. The one that we'll use is pixels. So let's just say I wanted to change this to 50 pixels. And I hit save. This should now be 50 pixel font. There we go. Let's say I wanted to do the same thing for this one, but I wanted to do a font size of, let's say, 35 pixels. And this should now be 35 pixels. So that's how you can change your font. The size is actually pretty easy. But let's say we actually wanted to change what type of font we're using. And in our case, we have this standard default font. And I'll get you all to embed fonts as we move forward throughout the class. And we'll use Google Fonts for that. So let's go in and add us a font here. So let's go in, and the property is font dash family. And let's put a colon. Now, what I want you to recognize is these 6. I'm going to stop here and I want you to recognize these 6 of what's going on. We have Cursive, Fantasy, Inherit, Monospace, Sans Serif, and Serif. Pretty much these are the default font families. So with these 6, let's say I choose Cursive. What happens is that now none of these need quotation marks. Any font that I wanted to use, let's say like Times or anything like that, it would have to go in quotes. You can see that that's kind of cursive there. But let's say I wanted to make this in Times, I would have to use quotes here. Let's say I take the quotes out. Now I have an issue. But we don't want to use any of the defaults at this point. What we want to do is actually embed a font. And let's do that. Let me show you how this works. So in our case, I have Google Fonts pulled up. And you can see it's just font.google.com. And we can embed any type of font that we want. So in our case, let's just choose a font. And it's always a good idea to look at your fonts. You never want more than 2 different fonts on your page. All right, that's the standard procedure. If you go more than that, then you got sort of a problem there. But this is, let's say we want this one. I'm going to click on it. All right. And I'm just going to choose this regular 400. This is the normal font. So we're going to say select this style. All right. And what I want to do is embed this on my page. So you should see an embed option. So let's click on embed. And there's 2 different things we have to do. The first thing we need to do is we need to link this to our page. This is a Google API almost. So what we need to do is get Google to embed this on our page. So it needs the link. So let's just go ahead and copy this. So I'm going to hit Command C to copy. And let's go back to our page. And this goes in the head of our document. So in the head, let's just paste that in. Now we're not done at all. So I'll save this. And we have another step. I need to go in and get the CSS rules for the specific family. And you'll notice that there's two different fonts. You'll see the one that we choose, this Pedana, I believe that's what it's called. And then we have serif. Now, why is that? The reason is, now we won't have a problem here, but older browsers, especially like Internet Explorer, it couldn't read some of the fonts that you would choose. So if your font didn't work, it would go back to that standard default, and it could really throw off the design of your site. So you always choose one of those standard defaults that we had, where you saw sans serif, serif, it was 6 of them. So that's what Google Fonts is doing. If this Pedana can't be pulled up, what will happen is it will default to serif. So let's just copy this, Command C. Let's just paste it here. And if I hit save and I live preview this, there we go. I have changed my font. So this is how you can start to get your page to look better.